Hello everyone, it's Channin here for Honeybee Stamps. In today's video, we're going to create this colorful birthday card featuring a background made with Distress Oxide Sprays. And I'm also going to share with you a great trick for highlighting an area of a cover plate. I'm going to start out with the background and the Distress Oxide Sprays. First, I have an A2 panel of 110-pound white cardstock. I also have this cardboard box that I'm using to kind of catch my overspray. And then I have two scraps I'm actually using some leftover cardboard. You could use cardstock if you have that, but some big scraps of paper to kind of work as a mask or even kind of like a stencil. So first I placed down one of the scraps and I just sprayed Barn Door Distress Oxide Spray over that little strip of the panel. Now I'm positioning my second mask and I'm going to spray with my next color. Basically, I'm doing a rainbow of colors here. This is Picked Raspberry. My sprayer was a little clogged here, so the spray didn't get quite as beautiful and thin, so it's a little heavy on this one. So I'm going to actually allow that panel to dry completely before I reposition my masks here. So I positioned for my next little strip. This is my orange, which is Spiced Marmalade. You can also dry this with your heat gun too, which is actually what I'm doing. I'm just quickly drying it off camera with my heat gun and then placing it back in my box. Now we're moving on to a yellow. I'm using Fossilized Amber. And I am intentionally overlapping my colors a little bit because it kind of creates new colors where the Distress Oxide Spray overlaps another. You'll really see it when we get to the blue and the purple, and I really love that little subtle layering and that little bit of new color. But you definitely want to make sure that you get all your white spots. So I am making sure to by kind of overlapping the colors, that's another way to ensure you don't have any white spots. That green was Peeled Paint. Now we're moving on to our blue, which is Mermaid Lagoon. And then we have one last color after this, a purple. So again, I'm letting it dry in between each color at this point so I don't mess up my spray. And here for my last color is Wilted Violet. Just going to spray that last little area. You can see how beautiful that Mermaid Lagoon and Wilted Violet look overlapped. And that's a really pretty rainbow background. Now we're going to move on to our cover plate. I have the Happy 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 A2 cover plate here. I'm just going to die cut it out of an A2 panel of heavyweight cardstock. I am going to keep the inside piece for the two P's and the A. All the rest of the letters I will just put aside and maybe use on another card in the future. Now I have a scrap of black cardstock and I'm going to die cut one of the happies out of that black cardstock. And so we have this kind of like a strip here. I'm not going to use the letters for this. I'm just going to use that strip of cardstock as well as the inside negative areas for the A and the two P's. Now I'm going to put this together. So I'm going to start with that black strip and I'm going to place it behind one of my happies, and then I'm going to offset it a little bit to the right so you see a little bit of that black. Almost creates like a shadow effect. Then I'll use a little piece of tape to hold it in place while I glue it. Now I kind of am willy-nilly with the glue here, but when you do glue this, make sure you just kind of really only put glue at the top and the bottom. Luckily I didn't get any glue exposed, but I kind of forgot about that little bit of the black that you can see, and if I got glue on that would be kind of, you would notice it maybe a little bit later when it dried, but just glue the top and the bottom of that strip. That's all you need. Now I'm going to remove the tape now that I've got that black happy glued behind the white cover plate, and now I'm going to just trim off the excess here. I'm going to grab my scissors to just cut that off. And with that, we are ready to move on to all of those little negative pieces. I'm going to layer them as well. So starting with the black, add a little bit of glue to the top of it, and then I'll grab the corresponding white negative piece for that P and just glue it on top, but again a little offset so you can see some of that black underneath. And I'll repeat this process for the A and the other insert or the negative piece for the P, and that will complete kind of my top panel for my card. Now I'm going to move on to some sub-sentiments. So I have the Happy 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 stamp set, and I'm going to pull off the Wishing You A and birthday stamps. I'm going to do some heat embossing, so I applied some anti-static powder. Now I'm going to ink up my stamps in a watermark and embossing ink, dip my sentiments into some white embossing powder, and clean up any stray embossing powder, and then heat set with my heat tool. Now that I have my sub-sentiments heat set, I'm going to use the Happy 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 corresponding die set to die cut these sentiments out. I love die sets that cut out sentiments. It just makes it so easy and really professional looking. Now that my sentiments are die cut out, I'm really ready to put this card together. I'm going to start by adding some liquid adhesive to the back side of my Distress Oxide Spray panel. Just glue it right down onto an A2 top folding white card base. I'll put my top plate from my die cutting machine on top to just let that dry flat. And now I'm going to move on to the cover plate die cut. I'm going to add some 1/8 of an inch foam strips to the back side of this, and then I will remove the backing on that foam adhesive and stick this down onto my card front. Next, I have all those little negative pieces. I'm going to cut small little bits of foam adhesive and then stick those right down onto my card front inside that one happy that I've kind of highlighted with that black offset kind of shadow. Now moving on to the sub sentiments, I cut 3 strips of black cardstock, and now I'm just going to glue them one on top of the other. This is going to actually, I'm going to use this as dimensioned for my sub sentiments. It's a little bit thinner than foam adhesive, and I just like, sometimes I don't like as much dimension as foam adhesive, and for these sub sentiments I think this is perfect. So I'm just cutting these into smaller little strips and then I'm adhering them to the back side of my sub sentiments. Once I have both of my sub sentiments with that stacked strip of black cardstock adhered to the back, and I'll add some liquid adhesive to it and then stick it down onto my card front. And once I stick those sub sentiments down, my card is complete. I'll hold up here the camera so you can get a good look at all the details on this card. I love how that rainbow background really pops with that cover plate, and that subtle little highlight we added, or really a shadow we added to make that happy inside the cover plate pop, is a really great way to kind of focus your eye on a specific area of a cover plate die cut. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If any questions of the products I used, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.